If I asked you to describe your childhood, you might pause. You might say it was fine. You might say you were easy. You were the one your parents never had to worry about. You were the peacemaker, the achiever, the one who didn't need to be asked twice. You were the good one. But if we look closer, past the report cards and the praise for being so mature for your age, we find something quieter and much heavier. We find a child who learned very early on a devastating lesson. That to be loved, you had to be useful. And to be safe, you had to be invisible. This isn't just about being polite. This is about a survival strategy that you unknowingly built into the architecture of your nervous system. You learned to scan the room before you walked into it. You learned to read the micro-expressions on your mother's face or the tone of your father's voice, adjusting your entire personality to keep the peace. You became a chameleon, a master of accommodation. But here is the core paradox, and the reason you clicked on this video today. The very behaviors that saved you as a child are the exact behaviors that are quietly destroying you as an adult. The perfection that once bought you safety is now the cage that keeps you lonely, exhausted, and profoundly disconnected from who you actually are. You are tired. Not just need a nap tired, you are soul tired. Because you have spent decades performing a role that was never meant for you. Today, we are going to dismantle the perfect daughter syndrome. We are going to look at the psychology of self-erasure, and we are going to find out who you are when you stop performing. To understand why you feel this way, we have to move beyond the surface level of people-pleasing. We need to look at the psychological mechanics of your upbringing. In psychology, the perfect daughter is rarely born. She is created through a dynamic known as parentification. Parentification occurs when the roles are reversed, when a child is expected to meet the emotional or logistical needs of the parent rather than the other way around. This doesn't always look like abuse. Sometimes it looks like a parent who is emotionally immature, chronically anxious, or suffering from their own unresolved trauma. In this environment, the child realizes that the parent is fragile. And so the child makes a subconscious vow, I will not be a burden. I will be the solution. This triggers a state of chronic hypervigilance. Your nervous system is constantly stuck in the sympathetic state, fight, flight, or more accurately for you, fawn. The fawn response is the instinct to merge with the needs of others to avoid conflict. It is the ultimate act of submission for safety. Over time, this creates a specific neural pathway. You begin to suffer from what psychologists call conditional regard schema. This is the deep-seated belief that love is a transaction. It is not something you are. It is something you earn. If you are helpful, you are worthy. If you are quiet, you are good. If you have needs, you are too much. This rewires your brain's default mode network, the part of the brain responsible for your sense of self. For the perfect daughter, the sense of self is not internal. It is external. You exist only in relation to how much you can do for others. You become a mirror, reflecting back what everyone else wants to see, while the person behind the mirror slowly fades away. You didn't just learn to hide your bad feelings, you learned to hide yourself. And the cost of that hiding is what we need to talk about next. The Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung spoke often of the persona, the mask we wear to interact with the world. But for the perfect daughter, the mask has fused to the skin. You have worn the mask of competence for so long that you have forgotten what your own face looks like. This leads to a profound sense of invisible grief. You are grieving the childhood you never had, even if your childhood looked perfect on paper. You are grieving the loss of your own spontaneity. Think about the last time you did something purely for yourself, with no utility, no goal, and no justification. It's difficult, isn't it? Because every moment of rest feels like a theft. Every moment of silence feels like a failure. This is the tyranny of the golden shadow. Jung described the shadow as the dark, repressed parts of ourselves. But for you, your shadow isn't just your anger or your selfishness. Your shadow contains your good things too. You have repressed your playfulness, your messiness, your ability to be weak, your ability to ask for help. You shoved these traits into the dark because you were taught they were inconvenient. The philosophical weight of this is heavy. You are living a life of existential inauthenticity. You are followed by a pervasive fear, not that you will fail, but that you will be found out. You fear that if you stop being useful, you will simply cease to matter to the people around you. It is a lonely way to live. Being the strong one is the loneliest position in any family and in any friendship group. Everyone comes to you for shelter, but you have nowhere to go when it rains. So, how does this childhood imprint manifest now that you are an adult? It shapes almost every aspect of your reality. The perfect daughter doesn't disappear, she just becomes the anxious high achiever. Let's look at the symptoms. You might recognize yourself in these 6 patterns. 1. The inability to distinguish peace from boredom. In relationships, you might be attracted to chaotic or emotionally unavailable partners. Why? Because you are trained to fix. A partner who is stable and kind feels boring to your nervous system because there is no job for you to do. You don't know how to receive love. You only know how to earn it. 2. Chronic overfunctioning. At work, you are the one who picks up the slack. You say yes before you've even checked your capacity. You feel responsible for the emotions of your boss and your colleagues. This leads to burnout, not because the work is too hard, but because the emotional labor is crushing you. 3. Difficulty with boundaries. To you, a boundary feels like an act of aggression. Saying no feels like a physical threat to your safety. You would rather suffer in silence than risk disappointing someone. 4. Alexithymia, emotional blindness. If I asked you what you are feeling right now, you might say tired or stressed. But you struggle to identify the deeper nuances: sadness, rage, longing. You have suppressed your signals for so long that the connection has been severed. Number 5. Somatic collapse. Because you don't listen to your emotions, your body has to scream to get your attention. Migraines, autoimmune issues, chronic fatigue, IBS. The body keeps the score of every emotion you swallowed to keep the peace. 6. The imposter feeling. No matter how much you achieve, you feel hollow because the praise is for your performance, not for you. Recognizing these patterns is not about blaming your parents or shaming yourself. It is about witnessing. It is about stepping out of the autopilot and realizing, this is not who I am. This is just how I survived. The journey out of the perfect daughter syndrome is not about becoming a bad daughter. It is about becoming a real person. It is about moving from self-abandonment to self-loyalty. This healing process is slow and it is somatic. It doesn't happen in your head. It happens in your body. First, you must practice disappointing people. Start small. Say no to a coffee date. Leave an email unread for 24 hours. Let the laundry pile up. Sit with the anxiety that arises when you are not perfect. Realize that the world does not end when you rest. Realize that the people who love you for you will stay, and the ones who only loved your utility will leave. And that is a good thing. Second, engage in reparenting. Visualize that little girl who had to be so grown up. Speak to her. Tell her, you don't have to fix this. You can go play. I've got this. You must become the protector for your inner child that you never had. Third, reclaim your shadow. Allow yourself to be messy. Allow yourself to be irrational. Allow yourself to be needy. These are not flaws. They are the nutrients of a whole human life. There's a quote by the poet Rainer Maria Rilke that says, "Let everything happen to you, beauty and terror. Just keep going. No feeling is final." For so long, you have tried to only let the beauty happen, to only show the light. But you are allowed the terror too. You are allowed the darkness. The goal of your life is not to be fixed. You were never broken. You were just protected. The goal is to become whole, to take off the mask, to lay down the heavy armor, and to finally, after all these years, let yourself be seen. Not for what you do, but for who you are. If this spoke to the child inside of you, please share this with someone who needs permission to rest. I'll see you in the next video.